Welcome to my podcast, Life with Denise, sharing inspiring conversations and heartfelt wisdom. Follow online at denisepettit.com, YouTube at Denise Pettit, and Instagram at Denise Pettit. Pearls of wisdom. Every pearl has a story, and every story is a pearl. No two are exactly the same. Pearls started as a wound in an oyster and became something beautiful and unique. You and I can be compared to a pearl. Each one of us has our unique journey of ups and downs, joys and sorrows. Hi and welcome. I'm so glad you're here. I'm Denise, and this is Life with Denise. And today I want to talk about the pearl. There's so many types of pearls. Small ones, large ones, pink ones, opal, translucent. No two are exactly the same. You've seen them maybe in a necklace, resting close to the heart, like a quiet kind of protection. Maybe in a ring, unbroken and seamless. Or as an earring, worn near where we listen, like a small reminder of something survived. Or maybe it was just sitting in a dish on a dresser somewhere. Well, I love pearls. And recently, I had the opportunity to visit the Louvre in Paris, where they have on display the exquisite pearl crown jewels. Always magnificent. I have a picture where I'm standing with the pearl display in view. The crown, the earrings, the rings, everything. I was standing so close, and I gazed through the glass display in awe of this one-of-a-kind collection of a historical treasure. They were so beautiful. But a week later, a robbery happened there at the Louvre, and those pearls disappeared. And to this day, they've not been recovered. The pearl, we call it a gem. We call it a treasure. But that's not how it started. The pearl was once a wound. Before it was treasured, it was troubled. Before it was admired, it was irritated. Before anyone held it in the palm of their hand and called it beautiful, something sharp had buried itself deep where it did not belong. The oyster did not ask for that wound. It didn't invite a grain of sand that pierced its tender places. It simply found itself carrying something painful that refused to leave. And I really don't know right now what you're going through, but maybe that's where you are right now. But before we get started, I want to talk about how the pearl forms. I want to let you know something that maybe you already know. You just might not have thought about it this way before. Think about how we actually wear pearls. We wear them in a necklace, a ring, or earrings. We don't just look at them in a case usually. We put them on our bodies close to us. And the way that people have chosen to wear pearls across centuries and cultures tells you something about what we maybe instinctively understand about them. Think about a pearl necklace. It sits at the throat, close to the heart. And for a long time, pearls worn this way were believed to offer protection. Maybe like a kind of calm laid right over the most vulnerable part of us. Which kind of makes sense, doesn't it? We take something that was a wound and we place it exactly where we once felt exposed. Or think about a pearl ring. A pearl has no seam, no beginning, no end, just one continuous unbroken surface. So rings set with pearls have often symbolized wholeness, something completed, a cycle finally closed. Not by accident, by all the layering done slowly enough that the seams disappeared. And then there's pearl earrings. It's interesting to note that sailors used to wear a single pearl earring after surviving something dangerous at sea. Not because it was fashionable, but as a marker, as a reminder, proof that they had lived through something and come back changed. Earrings sit near where we listen, near where we take in the world. And there's something that's fitting about wearing your survival right there, close to how you hear. None of that is coincidence. I think we've always known that pearls aren't just a decoration. There's a deeper meaning. And so where we choose to wear one might say something about what we're trying to hold on to. Maybe protection at the heart, maybe wholeness at the hand, maybe memory at the ear. Maybe we just love pearls. But to really understand, we have to go back to where it started. Not on a dresser, not in a jewelry box, but at the bottom of the ocean in the dark where the whole thing began. Somewhere at the bottom of the ocean in the dark, in the quiet, a grain of sand just slipped in. Or maybe it was a parasite. It could have been a splinter of a shell. Something was foreign and something that was never supposed to be there. And here's the thing. The oyster has no say in the matter. It doesn't get to choose whether the wound happens. It certainly doesn't get to negotiate. It doesn't get any advanced warning. One moment it's closed, protected, floating along in the bottom of the ocean, going about its quiet life. And the next moment, something sharp is inside it. There's no one doing that. I think a lot of us know what that might feel like. Maybe it was a diagnosis you received. Maybe it was a phone call that you didn't see coming. Maybe it was a relationship that ended, or a job that just disappeared one day, or maybe a version of your future that quietly stopped being possible one ordinary afternoon. You didn't ask for it. You didn't invite it in. It just arrived. And now it's there. It's lodged somewhere tender, and it will not leave. That's not weakness. That's not failure. That's just what it means to be a living thing in a world that sometimes hurts. The oyster doesn't have the option of pretending that the grain of sand isn't there. It can't just will it away. It can't argue with it. All it can do is to respond. But that response, well, that's where the story actually gets interesting. And here's something that most people don't know, maybe you do, but a lot of people don't know that how a pearl actually forms. The oyster doesn't get rid of that irritant. It just cannot. Instead, it does something remarkable. It starts to coat it. Layer by layer, it secretes a substance called nacre, the same iridescent material that lines the inside of its shell. And it wraps that grain of sand in it over and over. Thin layer after thin layer after thin layer. It doesn't happen overnight. It's not one dramatic gesture. It's slow, it's patient, it's almost invisible from the outside because nothing about it looks impressive while it's happening. But for months and sometimes even years, layer after layer after layer. And what's really interesting about this is the oyster isn't trying to make something beautiful because that's not really the goal. The goal is actually just survival. The goal is protection. The nacre is the oyster's way of saying, I cannot remove this pain, so I will respond to it the only way I know how, again and again and again, until it no longer threatens me. And then the beauty is a byproduct. It's not the point. It's what's left over after enough patient, repeated, quiet responding. So many of us are waiting to feel like our pain has meant something before we're willing to keep going. But we want the beauty first and the effort second. It just doesn't work that way. Not for the oyster, and maybe not for us either. The layering comes first. The transformation is slow, it's unglamorous, and mostly happens in the dark, when no one's watching, where nothing looks like progress. And that's exactly what makes it real when it finally does show up. The grain of sand doesn't disappear. It's still there, right at the center. Every pearl ever formed still has, somewhere deep inside it, the very thing that caused the wound in the first place. The pearl doesn't exist instead of the wound, it exists around it. And I think that matters because sometimes we tell ourselves a version of healing that says that the pain has to completely vanish before we can call ourselves whole. That if we still feel the edge of the pain and still remember the ache of it, that we must not be healed right. But the pearl says something different. It says, you don't have to erase what hurt you in order to become something valuable. You just have to keep responding to it. Keep showing up around it. Let it be surrounded instead of let it be denied. The wound becomes part of the story instead of the whole story. And maybe that's kind of like a permission to still carry the memory of what happened to you and still let something beautiful grow around it anyway. You know, those two things aren't in competition. They were never in competition. So you might ask, why does any of this matter today? Well, because I think a lot of us are somewhere maybe in the middle of the process. And you know, in the middle is the hardest place to be. The wound has already happened, but the beauty hasn't arrived yet. And all we can see is the layering, the slow, repetitive, invisible, and the unglamorous. It doesn't feel like anything is happening. It just feels like we're carrying the weight, sometimes the weight of the world. But if that's you right now, I just want you to know you're not behind. You're not doing anything wrong. You are exactly where the process requires you to be. You don't have to make the pain make sense today because sometimes it just doesn't. Now or ever, you don't have to know what it's going to become. And the oyster doesn't know either. It's not layering the nacre because it can say and picture the finished pearl. It's layering because that's what it does with what it's been given. One coat, then another, and then another. And I'm reminded there's a verse in the Bible in James chapter 1, verses 2 through 4. And it says this, consider it pure joy whenever you face trials of many kinds, because the testing of your faith produces perseverance. And then it continues to say, let that perseverance finish its work, so that you may be mature and complete and not lacking anything. Finish its work, not make sense out of it right away, not explain itself, but finish it, like a process that's still in motion, still layering, still doing something, even when you can't see it doing anything. So that's really what today is all about. The whole invitation today is not to rush the transformation and not to fake that the wound didn't happen, but to keep showing up around it, one layer at a time, even when it's dark, even when no one's watching, even when it doesn't look like anything yet. You know, isn't that just like God? He is the only one who can enter those places that no one else can reach. He speaks into the wilderness. He sits beside wells with the broken. He finds the bleeding woman hidden in the crowds. He gathers the pieces everyone else has left behind. And somehow, without ever calling evil good, without ever pretending that your pain didn't matter, he begins to cover what pierced you with his own grace. One layer is mercy. Another layer is faithfulness. Another layer is compassion. And another layer, the most important, I think, is his presence. What once screamed now begins to sing. Not because it no longer remembers the wound, but because it has become acquainted with the healer. Because someday, someone is going to hold what you've become in the palm of their hand, and they're going to call it beautiful. They won't see the wound underneath it. They'll just see the pearl. And maybe they'll set it in a ring, or wear it close to their heart, or clip it near their ear so it's the first thing they hear the world through. Wherever it ends up, you'll know what it cost, and you'll know that it was worth it. So today, maybe there's a wound that you've been trying to rush past, or maybe you've been trying to erase it, or just pretend that it isn't shaping you. Well, you don't have to do that. Let it be layered. Let it become something, so that the next time you see a pearl or you wear a piece of jewelry made with pearls, remember how the pearl was made and remind yourself that you are beautiful and you are unique. The places and wounds that once made you believe that you would never be whole again may become the very places where the light shines the brightest. Trials produce something beautiful when finished through endurance. This is Life with Denise. I'm Denise. Thanks for listening. I'll see you next time. Thank you for listening to Life with Denise, sharing inspiring conversations and heartfelt wisdom. Follow online at denisepettit.com, YouTube.